Nice one, a double whammy. Fantastic. Nice overtaking, great work. That's your fastest lap so far today. That's your fastest lap so far today. Car ahead pulled the gap up to 5 seconds. Keep on it, keep pushing. That's your fastest lap in the race so far. Nice one, that's your fastest lap so far. Driver in front increased the gap to 3 seconds, but you're still very, very close. Keep pushing on him, keep pushing.
1. BT, come on.
All new Doctor Who action figures, including Amelia Pond, Idris, the 11th Doctor, and the silent Doctor Who 5-inch action figures.
From character.
yesterday, so the car was on wet weather tyres, but the drive today just love it. There's no time out for them to start talking to them. Those memories from Bruno himself, it was an incredible. Very, very successful car. 8 victories, 10 pole positions, 7 of which with Ayrton at the wheel, and 8 pole positions.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of a shape, it's relatively World Championship. Yeah, but that's the reason. Manual gear, so lots of pretty good gear around here. Of this beautiful car around this track, and we at McLaren, as I may have mentioned earlier, I'm lucky enough to run this car. We are so privileged to have Bruno as one of our brand ambassadors. He's such a wonderful man, and the story and the access to that incredible part of our history, I think, is priceless. And that Brazil brought me with him, we were talking about it.
When he was win the race. Such was the toll that this race was taking on him, such a pressure, and then the emotion, the outpouring emotion once he finally did. He said it was excruciating to lift the podium. Absolutely incredible, but it's just so wonderful to see this car here. Obviously a circuit and steam on driving this car. Here we go. First corner and special moment to see this car here being driven by Bruno. Great to see so many fans, so many young fans around the track. It's such a fight. Just any parts of this is cool. But we did a 1:17. versatility of this car. So really pushing on is Bruno to give us a fantastic demonstration of this car. And just the noise you can hear as it heads down into Woodcote. Braking now into Woodcote. It'll be ignited through Woodcote and into the chicane. And I'm going to stop talking so when they were built, and they're shown off at events like this. I think Bruno spoke to him yesterday, as I said after, and he said it was a really appreciation for this incredible car, and there you go, you can see in the background the fans loving what they've just seen, giving them a round of applause and they're clapping away, because that is something truly special. So good at it, isn't it? Well, it will be a huge smile. There may even be a tear in his eye. That was something quite special. And yes, he was worried yesterday morning. Around here in the wet, one of those would be something something quite scary. So it's fantastic that the track has stayed dry today, and we've got these fantastic conditions to see that car really driven as it was and as it should be.
And a great reception for Bruno Senna from the grandstand as he comes into Woodcote, from fans and marshals alike. The chicane comes the McLaren down. So Bruno Senna, everybody, after a great display.
I'm trying to pretend I've lost about 30 years out of my life, which I unfortunately hasn't happened yet. How are you?
Fine, yes, great. What do you think of this weekend?
This weekend is something really, it's hard to describe. It's got all the passion, it's got huge enthusiasm, it's got a great spirit. And I said, well, if I was ever going to drive a Jordan car, which I've never done till yesterday, I was going to do it here.
He wasn't impressed.
The super fast and dauntingly spectacular Eau Rouge section of the world's finest Grand Prix circuit at Spa-Francorchamps, scene of today's Belgian Grand Prix, which could well decide whether Nigel Mansell remains a realistic contender for the 1991 World Championship. Because after his 3 successive victories, which took him to second in the championship, Mansell had to defer to Ayrton Senna in Hungary, where McLaren's return to form enabled the Brazilian to increase his lead.
Some races I was very sure that we'd be competitive at, and other races not. And what's just happened this last few weeks has, I wouldn't say it's blown me away, but it's made me more cautious. And what I would say is that Spa, it's essential here this weekend we get a good result. There's no question about that. If God forbid Ayrton wins and we don't finish the race, then the championship is very, very tough. We've got to stay in touch, and preferably it's got to be the other way around this weekend. We've got to beat him, whether it's for first, second or third, but he's got to finish behind us just to keep in the running.
But can he? McLaren's revival with a lighter car and more power from Honda couldn't have come at a better time for Ayrton Senna, who's won here for the last 3 years.
Oh, I like the circuit. I like to drive around here. I enjoy very much. But on the other hand, I think despite that, you need a good car equipment to do well. Otherwise, you can't do it. And also, you have to consider that this is a critical time of the championship. It's where you really just make it or you don't. And perhaps looking back, 88, 89 and 90, exactly this time I was able to just find that little extra which gave us the edge over everybody else on the following races in the championship.
Gerhard Berger, Senna's Austrian teammate, drives a new lightweight car in Belgium, but his chances of winning his first Grand Prix for McLaren look slight now that team orders require him to finish behind Senna. And for World Championship reasons, it seems unlikely that Riccardo Patrese will finish ahead of his Williams partner, Nigel Mansell. But the sensation of Spa has been Germany's 22-year-old Michael Schumacher, who's substituting for Bertrand Gachot in the Jordan Ford team. Before Belgium, Schumacher had never driven a Formula One car on a full Grand Prix circuit, but today he starts 7th on the grid. An incredible achievement. The Belgian Grand Prix is going to be crucial to the World Championship, with Ayrton Senna 12 points ahead of Nigel Mansell, and realistically, with every point to count, one of them should be number 1 next year.
恵まれたスパフラッグシャン、雨のないウィークエンドになりました。伝統の一戦、ベルギーグランプリですね。
さてまずは予備予選からスタートです。
PQ はノープロブレムのブラバムヤマハ、ブランドルは1分54秒台のぶっちぎりタイムでワンツークリアとなります。グランプリ直前にたっぷりテストをしてきたブラバムヤマハ、ロングランをやって信頼性を非常に高めてきていますね。
トップ通過のブランドルに続いてマーク・ブランドルです。
ヤマハ V12 もパワートルクもアップ、高回転化のステップを確実に歩んできています。
そして3番手の通過がオリビエ・グルイヤール。
グルイヤールはフットワーク勢と非常に激しいタイム争いを展開したわけですけれども、最後のアタックでベストタイムをマークして3位に飛び込んできました。 PQ 突破です。
初通過はアレックス・カフィ。
久々の通過になりましたアレックス・カフィ、4位で、パス。しかし本番の公式予選の方は29位ということで、カフィ久々の決勝進出はなりませんでした。
ミケーレ・アルボレートは予備予選落ちです。
0.5 秒差で5位に終わったアルボレート、最後はこのようにタイヤがブローしてしまいました。チームメイト同士争ったわけですけれども、フットワークは2台中1台のみ通過という結果です。
8 drivers looking for a lift from pre-qualifying into official practice, but only 4 will get through. And the fastest of them is Martin Brundle in the ever-improving Brabham Yamaha V12, head and shoulders above the rest. Teammate Mark Blundell took second fastest time despite this spin to further reinforce the Brabham Yamaha's improved progress. Frenchman Olivier Gouillard by comparison lacked horsepower in the V8 Ford engine Fond Metal, but still took third in pre-qualifying. Alex Caffey in the footwork took the final pre-qualifying place, but sadly Alboretto's hopes were deflated as team boss Jackie Oliver cringed.
Well, it's purgatory for us at the moment. To change engines mid-season with a car that's not designed for it and all the difficulties we have, I mean, it's pathetic would probably be a good word.
A trying time for footwork, but an even bigger test for the AGS Ford of Gabriele Tarquini as he fought for grip and a way through to official practice on the spectacularly fast Blanchimont, crashing the low-budget team's car badly, fortunately with no broken bones.
But I don't have the fracture. I don't have. It's okay. All is okay. Now I have all the confusion in the head, but it's normal for me.
Good luck.
Physic banana. How are you? Pietro, portatemi gli asciugati.
Coquin, j'aurais jamais cru cette toi, Xavier. Regarde son sourire ici, bien élevé.
Sieht gut aus, kenne ich aber nicht.
What are you going to do? You look around? Yeah?
petit billet. Picture, you see Mauricio Gugelmin, the Brazilian driver who starts 15th on the grid for this, probably the crucial round of the 1991 World Championship, because as you've just heard, Ayrton Senna leads Nigel Mansell by 12 points. But now with JJ Leto, who starts 14th, is the man you're looking at. The vital news is that there are two very dramatic developments which affect the grid. The first is that Riccardo Patrese, who qualified faster than Nigel Mansell yesterday, actually qualified second fastest, was found after the practice had finished and with scrutineering on to have a defective reverse gear, and controversially the stewards have decided that Riccardo will be penalised by having to appear on the grid with his Friday time, which means 17th on the grid. And I'll tell you that Riccardo Patrese was fastest in the warm-up this morning, so we can expect to see a pretty sensational drive through the field. That's Ivan Capelli, incidentally. The other thing is that Michael Schumacher, the sensational 22-year-old Mercedes-Benz backed German, appearing in his first Grand Prix, starts 7th on the grid in the Jordan Ford, and Schumacher had only done some 36 laps of Silverstone's South circuit in a Grand Prix car before he came here, and hadn't even seen the Spa circuit. This seems to be a superstar in the making.
Yes, and there's his teammate Andrea De Cesaris, and Schumacher, who debuting has certainly impressed a lot of people here at Spa. He has not altogether surprised people who study motor racing. He was very, very impressive. There's Stefano Modena just coming up on your screen there. But Schumacher was very impressive in the Formula 3 race last year in Macau, where he came out of the German Championship, which isn't the highest standard of Formula 3 championships, and just upped his game instantly and chased Mika Häkkinen all the way, eventually forcing a mistake from Häkkinen to win the race. He then won the race a couple of weeks later in Fuji, and that really showed that proved that he'd got talent. He'd shown it in all sorts of other cars before, and he's certainly shown it here. Quite outstanding performance. Going back to Patrese, as Murray was telling you, he's stuck back in 17th place on the grid, but expect him to come through the field pretty quickly until he gets up to the back end of the top 6, because the Williams Renault is very quick on the straight, and there's plenty of straight here at Spa, so he shouldn't have a lot of trouble passing other cars. There is Roberto Moreno, and he's fighting to keep his place in the Benetton team for next year. It doesn't look particularly good for him.
So Roberto Moreno starts 8th on the grid, and since we've been talking so much about Michael Schumacher, I'll tell you that he should be the next man who is appearing, and there he is. 22 years old, an incredibly mature young man. He's got Mercedes-Benz backing, as I have told you, and he's enormously impressed the Jordan team, because it hasn't been a case of the young German driving over his head and going much faster than he should, really, on his first Grand Prix appearance. He's been driving extremely maturely. That's Nelson Piquet, 3 times world champion, starting 6th on the grid in his Benetton Ford. And the next man you'll see, well, there is Nelson Piquet. And
yes, going back to the Schumacher situation with the Jordan Ford, as Murray said, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz and drives for them in sports cars. The interesting thing here, of course, the irony, is that Mercedes-Benz, who have contributed to the cost of running Schumacher in the Jordan car, are effectively sponsoring Ford. And so I'm sure Ford are quite amused by that, even if Mercedes aren't, of course, because the Ford engine is in the car.
Shauna Lacey there, who starts 5th on the grid, did not participate in the vital 30 minutes warm-up this morning, when the final settings of the car for the day's race conditions are finalised, because he had an electrical problem as he came out of the pit lane and had to stop immediately. Gerhard Berger, a lucky man really, because he's moved up from the 3rd row of the grid to the 2nd row of the grid thanks to the disappearance of Riccardo Patrese. Gerhard Berger yet to win a Grand Prix for McLaren, and it's pretty unlikely that he'll win here today, because it seems to be common knowledge that Berger has been instructed to defer to Ayrton Senna. And there is Nigel Mansell, 3rd on the grid, 3 times a winner this year, France, Britain and Germany, 2nd in the championship, 12 points behind Ayrton Senna, and this race is absolutely vital for Nigel.
Yes, and Nigel will probably be quite pleased in some ways that Patrese could, of course, have helped him by being up on the grid with him in 3rd place with Nigel down in 4th. But the other way of helping him is to make way and let Nigel move up 1 place. And I think he'll settle for that, because it means he starts on the side of the grid with more grip and moves him up 1 place. And I should think he'd prefer that to having Patrese up there to help him actually in the race.
Now this is an interesting situation. Last year Alain Prost, who's on the front row of the grid, started on the 2nd row behind Senna and Berger, quotes, helped, close quotes, his teammate Ayrton Senna to break away at the beginning of the race because Alain Prost was not able to get past the Austrian's McLaren. Well, the boot is on the other foot this year, because Prost is on the front row of the grid, and that is the pole position man for the 58th time in his career, Ayrton Senna. And incidentally, Senna was 1.5 seconds slower in the warm-up this morning than the 2 Williams drivers, Riccardo Patrese, who was fastest, and Nigel Mansell, who was 1/10 of a second slower, who was 2nd quickest, with Michael Schumacher in the Jordan Ford, a quite incredible 4th fastest in race conditions. And as James and I have said many times before, it's the final half hour on Sunday that tells you what sort of performance you can expect in race trim from the cars. That is the contentious La Source hairpin right at the top. We're actually looking at the Eau Rouge section now, where they plunge downhill at getting on for 200, well, about 160 miles an hour, and then start the long climb to Radillon, where they're doing nearly 190 when they reach the top.
Yes, form for this race, of course, is absolutely critical in the struggle for the World Championship, which is reaching a crucial stage between Ayrton Senna and, of course, Nigel Mansell. And what has happened, really, in that, really to everybody's surprise, McLaren produced a tremendous response to the outstanding form that Williams had been showing at the last Grand Prix in Hungary. McLaren came back and fought hard, and Senna drove a fabulous race to sneak a win. Where when I say sneak a win, it was because that is, I use that expression because the Williams cars were actually quicker in race trim, but Senna's and McLaren's performance in qualifying got them on the pole, and by leading the race he was able to fend off for the whole way. Here, Williams weren't on great form on Friday and Saturday. They were struggling to get a good balance with their car. As a result, McLaren's did the business in qualifying. Senna on the pole. Prost came good. Williams still struggling, but they've worked away at the setup of their cars. And in race trim this morning, as Murray just told you, they were very quick indeed. And it looks as if Williams have now got their setup right. So Mansell will certainly be challenging the McLarens, and here, of course, we don't have the passing problem that we had in Hungary at the last Grand Prix, and if Mansell has got his setup right, he ought to be able, shouldn't have any difficulty passing Senna, and they'll be able to fight it out on merit, and it looks today as if Mansell is favourite to win this race.
There are 3 previous winners competing today, and they are on the front 3 places of the grid. Ayrton Senna, who has won 4 times in Belgium, including the last 3 years, Alain Prost and Nigel Mansell. So things could hardly be more interesting and exciting, but I have to strike a dull note at the start, and that is that last year we actually had 3 starts in Belgium, and it's not at all unusual for us to have more than 1, because there is an extremely contentious feature of the course, and that is the La Source hairpin, which is only a few yards, and I do mean a few yards, after the starting grid, and it doubles back on itself. It's almost a 180-degree turn before they plunge downhill to Eau Rouge, which is the section that you're looking at now. And the result is that you get drivers with some 650 horsepower and more behind them, knowing that a front position at the start of the race is absolutely essential, all crowding into that hairpin bend, and there are more often than not coming together. Let's hope there isn't one today. So McLaren in pole position, Ferrari second with Prost at the wheel, then the Williams of Nigel Mansell ahead of the second McLaren, 4th place on the grid, Gerhard Berger. Jean Alesi, who may well be going through this race on a harder tyre compound than his teammate Alain Prost, is 5th. Nelson Piquet in 6th position, and the amazing Michael Schumacher 7th ahead of Roberto Moreno.
Yes, and in fact, Murray, we've just had news of the tyres, which you hadn't seen while you were talking then, and on tyre compounds, in fact, Prost and Alesi have elected for the harder Goodyear compound. The idea of using the B compound being to give them the option. They're a little bit slower on overall lap time, but it gives them the option of going through the race they think without making a tyre stop. The other person on that harder compound is Patrese, who from his 17th place on the grid presumably doesn't want to make a stop, and he wants a durable tyre so that he can really attack in the early laps. All the rest are on the C compound, which seems to be quite all right here. Doesn't go off. They're not expecting problems, but it does wear reasonably hard, so they will be stopping. The C compound runners will be stopping for tyres at somewhere before half distance.
All right, now let's talk you around this incredible circuit. It's one of the very few circuits left in the world where natural everyday roads are used. Now the drivers have accelerated away from the starting grid on the assembly lap down to the La Source hairpin, which, as I told you, leads into the drop to Eau Rouge. Now there is the La Source hairpin. Expect, but let us hope it doesn't have trouble after the green light. They accelerate away now, 5th gear, and then up into top gear for Eau Rouge, which they go through at 170 miles an hour to start the climb up. Now you can see from the width of the course that there is plenty of room for passing, unlike Hungary 2 weeks ago. There is not just one. What a lovely sight that is, look at it. And they're coming up to Les Combes now. The right, left, right. That's the second right. There is Gerhard Berger, Jean Alesi. Now they drop down to Malmedy, the third gear right-hander. Still dropping down. The flags of Brazil are here, of course, for Ayrton Senna.
We just had a late departure off the grid, which was Emmanuel Pirot, but being off 25th place on the grid, it's not going to make a great deal of difference to him. The fact that he has to start from the back, he's not allowed to overtake him, anything one place worse off, but he's got fired up, got away, he had to feel up.
And they're still dropping down to the lowest point of the course, which is the right-hander at Stabilo, which they are approaching, but not yet at. You can see that there's still plenty of room for passing on this circuit, which is 4.3 miles long per lap. 44 laps for the race, that's 190 miles as near, it makes no difference. Lap record, Alain Prost, 155.087, the speed of 134.9 miles an hour. And Senna's pole position of 1 minute 47.8 was therefore some 8 seconds faster than last year's lap record. So now they are starting to climb now round the Blanchimont turn, which they are through now into the bus stop, the only really artificial part of this circuit, where they take a very tight left, right, left, back onto the tarmac that they're on now as they approach the grid. And another unusual and not particularly good point about this course, well, they're into the bus stop now. Ayrton Senna has slowed right down. He doesn't want to be sitting on the line in first gear with his clutch out. Nigel Mansell, Gerhard Berger, Jean Alesi. And I was saying another rather undesirable attribute of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit is that the starting grid is actually on a corner, as a result of which the drivers at the back of the grid can't see the lights at the front, and for them there is a separate set of lights. Now remember what I said. The first right-hander at La Source is about 100 meters from the grid that you're looking at now, with Ayrton Senna on the left, with Alain Prost in the semi-automatic gearbox Ferrari on the right. And incidentally, Ayrton Senna is using the normal manual change, not the semi-automatic that McLaren experimented with in Hungary. And McLaren on their Honda V12 engine have got variable height inlet trumpets, which makes a big deal of difference to the torque of the engine.
Quickly indeed. They get a brilliant start. When there was a contact at the bottom of this one, trying to sprint his way through, somebody's gone off and I can't see who it is from here.
Yes, tremendous stuff. He could. Great stuff to see. Right on the limit. All right. He definitely in the back. And there's been an incident. There's certainly been contact.
He's right up alongside him. No, dropping back a bit as they come out the left-handed.
Looking like an attack down the inside. He nipped back inside him. Tremendously cheeky and wonderful stuff. Real racer stuff. And he's still trying.
A very heavy fuel load. They're coming through to complete lap one.
Yes, tremendous charging first lap, as we've come to expect, and to great effect.
Well, down in the pit lane, the man who's got the story for us, Grand Prix driver Jonathan Park. What is it, Jonathan?
Well, apparently, Murray, what happened was that off the line was in first gear and got a lot of wheel spin.
absolutely flying round. circuit.
Yes, he looks like a man who means business today. He's certainly charged.
unfortunately, we have a penalty. There we go. Can you take the penalty at the end of this lap, please? So pass through at the end of this lap.
This is unacceptable. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm saying unbelievable. Unacceptable.
We'll get the car prepped with a new set of tyres and ready to go if we think we need to. That's a really good first lap. Nailed. Good job. How's the balance?
Yeah, well, I don't really care what turn 2. Turn 1 was in the dry and 2 turn 3, so I think it'll be hard.
But I saw a puff of smoke. You watch. I saw it just out of the car, and there it is, and it's got a bit worse. So, but remember, we saw Berger's car smoke when he was driving the Ferrari throughout a Grand Prix, the whole Grand Prix, and still finish the race. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's terminal, but that is a bit more than just a puff like an overfilled tank or the breather. Because if they're a bit worried about oil, they overfill the tank, and in the early laps it puffs. But that was a bit of a bigger puff.
And there's that puff of smoke that James was talking about.
New fastest lap of the race goes on the caption. And they're really just chipping away at this fastest lap. There's nobody going quicker by leaps and bounds. New fastest lap of the race goes on the caption. And they're really just chipping away at this fastest lap. There's nobody going quicker by leaps and bounds.
A man who means business today. He's certainly charging.
New fastest lap of the race goes on the caption.
is absolutely flying round this circuit.
signal. To win the Grand Prix. And takes the 2 points that goes with it. A magnificent victory, a delighted team. Applauding himself, applauding the team, applauding the crowd, applauding the people.
Thank you guys, thank you. Sorry for my comment. Thank you. Special day for me, thank you. It's a great result for the constructors. So we've got a good car.
Roberto Moreno goes up into 4th position, so a pretty happy race for Benetton, because with Piquet in 3rd place and Moreno in 4th position, a very happy Ron Dennis, the team boss of McLaren. They have worked all hours with Shell on the fuel side, with Honda on the engine side, to get dominance back from Williams after Mansell's wins in France, Britain and Germany, and of course Patrese win in Mexico, and it looks as though they've done it. Patrese in 5th position has got 2 points for Williams, but sadly from their point of view that is not nearly enough, with McLaren scoring a dominant 16 points in this race.
Yes, that certainly puts the World Championship very firmly into the hands and the control of the McLaren team, because what that means is that Ayrton Senna can now win the Drivers' Championship by using only reliability. However, when I say that, if reliability lets him down at all, that is always a potential problem in Grand Prix racing. These cars are built, of course, to the ultimate limits of holding together, because every weight is so vital to their performance, so every component is built as light as it possibly can be. And as I say, Senna can win the championship just by holding on if the car finishes every race. If they have a problem finishing, Mansell, Williams still have the speed advantage with their chassis, and one failure and a win from Mansell can really change the picture around, or certainly two failures, and then they'll have to race. So McLarens cannot relax yet, but they do have the situation under control. They're mounting the rostrum, the two McLaren drivers with the president of everything, you see on the list.
A confirmation that Ayrton Senna has won his 5th Belgian Grand Prix, his 4th in a row, from his teammate on the left, whose hand he holds aloft, Gerhard Berger, by 1.9 seconds. There's the national anthem of Brazil rings out for proud Ayrton Senna. So Nelson Piquet in 3rd position up on the rostrum with Senna. Roberto Moreno makes it 3 Brazilians in the top 4 and also had the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 55.1, and scant consolation for Alain Prost, but his lap record from last year still stands. Patrese in 5th position. Mark Blundell gets his first World Championship point, as do Yamaha, his engine, and Brabham, his car and his team this season. Johnny Herbert, a superb 7th position, unlapped. Emanuele Pirro, 8th, lapped. Martin Brundle gets the 2nd Yamaha home, in Brabham Yamaha home, in 9th place. So that's a real fillip for Herbie Blash's team, 7th and 9th. 10th, Olivier Griard, and that's the first time that he and his Fondmetal team car have finished in a Grand Prix this season. Thierry Boutsen, 11th in the Ligier Lamborghini. Then in 12th place, Pierluigi Martini, 2 laps adrift. And the final classified finisher, the unfortunate Andrea de Cesaris, who so nearly finished in 2nd place, but was 3 laps adrift at the end. Magnificent drive by Ayrton Senna. We'll know soon what his problem was, but as I said earlier on, it really doesn't matter. I believe he only had 5 of his 6 gears, but it's amazing what vitality you can produce when you've got a bottle of champagne in your hands and you have just won your 32nd Grand Prix.
Piquet não entra na festa de Senna nem de Bergen. E pronto, o senhor espectador do Canal 2 da RTP, agradeço-lhe ter ficado na nossa companhia e, em meu nome e no do Domingos Piedade, despeço-me, desejo-lhe a continuação de uma muito boa tarde. Voltamos a marcar encontro consigo daqui por 15 dias em Itália, Monza, para a transmissão direta do Grande Prémio de Itália. Então, para si que nos acompanhou, obrigado uma vez mais por ter estado connosco na companhia do Canal 2, até de hoje a 15 dias para a próxima transmissão direta, ou então até à próxima sexta-feira para mais uma edição do programa Rotações. Muito boa tarde para si.
Senna first, Gerhard Berger second, the 2 McLarens, followed by the 2 Benettons of Piquet and Moreno. Riccardo Patrese 5th, Mark Blundell picked up Brabham's first points of the season. But for Senna, the win was far from easy.
Well, it was a real fantastic race for me, fantastic result. I never expect to win as the race developed. The Williams with Mansell was a lot quicker than me, but he couldn't overtake me. After my pit stop I had a problem with one of the tires and I lost a lot of time in the pit stop and everything was going bad for me from there on. And then Mansell dropped out. I had a lazy to deal and I knew he didn't change tires, so I decided to wait for late stage in the race when he would have his tires worn out. But I was just near to him, just waiting for a later stage. Suddenly, out of the hairpin, I think from 3rd to 4th I got 2nd, or from 4th to 5th I got 2nd gear. Completely, the gear selection went completely crazy. Similar thing as Brazil early in the year. And I said, okay, now forget it. I was stuck in a very short gear. I went all the way down, all up the hill in that stuck gear. And suddenly I managed to get a 6th gear suddenly. So then I went again, and that's when Piquet got near to me in one lap. And I had 5th, 4th and 3rd. And I tried once, I got second, but it was very funny, and I was worried to get stuck again. So from that on, I was only from third up, and was only a real problem at the hairpin. Everywhere else was okay, but at the hairpin was very difficult to stop the car and to accelerate out of there. So I was very fortunate, because the gear selection was certainly a big problem, and I was just fortunate to be able to have those top 4 gears and not be stuck in one gear or whatever. It was really a fortunate race for me.
Here's a look at how that victory affected the driver standings. Senna now with a 22-point lead over Nigel Mansell. Patrese all but out of it, although the defending world champion wasn't ruling anything out yet.
10 points, very important today, particularly with Mansell and Patrese almost not scoring. So this is a major step forward in the championship, but still the Williams is a faster car, and under normal circumstances they are ahead of us. So we went through one more race, we got a fantastic result, and we have a little more time until the next one to go forward again in our car combination. We need further improvements in the aerodynamics. We have some things coming up for Monza, and we need a more stable engine. Our engine goes up and down, lose power, comes back, and we need to improve the whole package to compete in equal terms with Williams. But in the meantime, I have 22 points lead with 5 races remaining. Who knows? We will keep trying, and we wait and see.
In the race for the Constructors' title, McLaren Honda picked up maximum points in Belgium, elevating them to a 16-point margin over Williams Renault. But for Gerhard Berger, engine problems and a poor pit stop almost cost him his second-place finish.
Yeah, the left front wheel was sticking, and they couldn't get it changed quick, so it took a long time in the bits. And then had a spin just going out of the bits, so I lost a lot of time. But the main problem was my engine was really very bad. Beginning of the race, I mean, was just a joke. It was not working at all. And I saw already after the warm-up this morning that the engine was not perfect, but this afternoon was really bad.
And Nelson Piquet picked up his first points since his win in Canada back in June.
Well, it's good place, but it was not a real third place. You know, it's a lot of car drop, stop in the circuit to finish third. Like this, it's you cannot even wait for everybody to stop every time to finish third.
Michael, there wasn't a very long race, but you had an excellent start. Take us from the start to when you had to go out.
Yeah, you said that the start was quite perfect. I win 2 places, I think, and just after the hairpin, I got a problem with the clutch. I have no more traction, and I think something is broken in the clutch or in the gearbox, I don't know.
Everything was going really good to plan in the race. The team did a fantastic pit stop, which put us in the lead. Then basically I was managing the car. We're not quite sure what happened. All we do know is the fact that it's an electrical problem. It's an electrical problem which basically stopped the car, didn't make the gearbox work, but also it cut the engine. I reset the engine, as I was explained with the ignition. I reset it, restarted it and everything, and then it just packed up again. You know, I hate to say something similar to Canada, but it's obviously an electrical problem. I can't say any more. As for the championship guys, I can't say anything. You've got to see who wins the race. If Ayrton wins the race here, you know the answer. Thank you, everybody. Yes, I am disappointed.
Jean Alesi was extremely disappointed in his Ferrari's lack of reliability. Like Alain Prost, Alesi had his engine blow, and that had the engineers and mechanics looking for solutions until well after the race was over. The list of retirements was quite lengthy. Such is the nature of the Spa circuit. Gugelmin, Prost, Capelli and Bernard all going out with engine trouble before the halfway point of the race. And as we heard previously, Schumacher with clutch problems, with electronic troubles. Further down the list, we can see that engine failure really took its toll. But one driver not on the list of retirements because he'd completed sufficient laps to be classified was Andrea de Cesaris, who finished 13th. Jordan Ford was up to second place before being forced to retire only 2 laps before the end of the race.
What was the problem that caused you to stop?
The water went very high, and the engine blew, basically, because of the water. I don't know what is exactly happening.
Looking forward to Monza, that's your type of circuit?
Well, Monza is, for sure, it's my home country. Grand Prix, but and I think he should be good in Monza, but today was really good, you know, and to be as good as today, I think is very difficult.